Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be the first speaker here. So this talk will be about the Internet of Energy, and I will go more specifically into areas of innovations and opportunities for startups. So Internet of Energy is a very fuzzy word. There are also other terminologies, digitalization of the energy system, in the Industry 4.0 for the energy system. And yeah, I have the impression that this year was really, at least in Berlin, there was every week there was one workshop or conference or event about this topic. So I think all experts, we have some energy experts here, agree that this is certainly the coming thing in the next years, at least in Germany. So I was motivated to organize a workshop on this topic by a talk of Jeremy Rifkin, who also came to Berlin earlier this year. And Jeremy Rifkin, famous economist from the United States and future researcher, and his latest book was about the title was the Zero Marginal Cost Economy. Third industrial revolution with IT technologies and the sharing economy. And his suggestion or his proposal was that this will also have enormous impact on the energy sector. So concepts, innovations from IT and the sharing economy. Actually in Germany we can already observe that with the strong penetration of renewable energies into the electricity system, we see that electricity prices, at least in the marginal generation costs, go down. And Rifkin, he proposed or he assumed that in the future generation costs of energy will approach zero. And this will dramatically change the economic interactions on the energy sectors, because then energy is not anymore the traded good, but it will be rather the exchange of services on interconnected infrastructure, so electricity grids, and all this has to be organized with IT and maybe also concepts of the sharing economy. So this talk will be about how innovations from IT, smart technologies, collaborative economy would diffuse into the energy sectors. And the question I'm interested in is what innovations can be taken up by the startups, what are the opportunities from them, and and also maybe develop prototypes for startups. I believe that this transition to a new energy system run by IT and concepts of the sharing economy will not be driven by the big energy companies. I think we have, in Germany, we have already seen that when we had this, the growth of the renewable energies, solar cells, wind farms, they all have been developed by small enterprises, startups, and actually the big energy corporations, they failed to pick up this trend. And I believe that also in this next step, in this next transformation towards the Internet of Energy, this will not be the big energy companies, but rather smaller entities and startups. And interestingly, we can already observe that now the big energy companies are afraid of this new thing coming, and they try to emulate a little bit the startups. So I heard, for example, that the big German electricity companies, they start to build their own innovation labs, corporate startups they call it, or corporate co-workings even. But I believe that the real transformation will still be driven from outside and from bottom up, from startups. So what are the opportunities for startups in this area? To answer this question, we did a design thinking workshop this June, where we invited people from the Berlin startup community in the IT and collaborative economy area. And we also invited people from the energy sector. So we had around 25 participants. And our design challenge, it was a design thinking workshop, was to develop a prototype for a startup where we can innovate the energy system with smart solutions from IT and the collaborative economy. So we started with a brainstorming, and we simply asked the people to randomly tell what they consider important for the energy system. So these are the elements on the right side. We have, everybody had to give some keywords, so intermittency, energy storage, household consumption, electric cars, renewables, and so on. So we had around a cloud of 30 keywords on the energy side. And then also, what are the innovations for from the IT and collaborative economy side, and then also blockchain, smartphone, Wi-Fi, everything together. And then we try to combine these two elements. So can we find, by combining innovations from IT and collaborative economy with elements of the energy, can we find inspirations or innovations for startups? So this is, for example, one example is if we combine Internet of Things with electricity demand and the household demand, then we would have smart meters. This is an already existing concept, so just as an example, quite trivial. What we developed in this design thinking workshop was we decided to go into concepts of the collaborative community, so collaborative consumption, peer production, and combine it with electricity markets, households, and renewable generation. And the idea of the discussions in the design thinking workshop was that we create a peer-to-peer platform where in a neighborhood the households join together. There are households with renewable energy generation, solar roofs, and they sell electricity to their neighbors without going to the electricity markets, so by bypassing the electricity markets. And we were quite enthusiastic, but finally we found out that there are already 3 startups in Germany, two in Germany, 1 in the Netherlands, that actually work on this. So it's not so easy to find something innovative, but maybe there are other combinations. So I would like to invite you maybe to discuss this, or to just to brainstorm. I had, for example, the following idea, also to go for a peer-to-peer platform, but then integrate electromobility, battery storage, and also the electricity markets, and then to aggregate storage of the households of one area and sell this to the electricity sector as balancing power, for example. Or, for example, as we have some people from the blockchain, smart contracts, so decentralized transaction protocols for decentralized energy production and consumption. So this would combine maybe renewable generation, which is intermittent, which has to be traded very quick on hourly time scale. And probably I'm not an expert in the blockchain, but maybe later in the discussions we could discuss whether it's possible, for example, to develop smart contracts where we can quick exchange of energy. Yeah, so thank you very much. If you have any ideas how we can combine these two elements, I would be happy to discuss this.
I have a few questions for you. So something you said is that production cost becomes zero, right? For energy.
The marginal cost of production.
Yeah, so the question is for the companies that start businesses in this area, where will the money come from?
Yeah, it's a big question.
Right.
It's actually already the problem. So big energy corporations, they lose money because prices on the electricity spot markets fall because of the penetration of renewables.
And especially for larger, smaller companies, for them it's much harder to kind of get initial traction and initial money, except for funding through agencies or investments. Right? They won't have a sustainable business. The other thing is, development in the energy market is often kind of large scale stuff, right? I want to introduce smart meters in 100,000 households or stuff like that. So there's a lot of R&D needed for that, and a lot of production capacity needed for that. Also upfront costs. Where do you see these costs coming from? Who will cover them? Will it be like crowdfunding or like initiatives from the EU or the state or something like that? Or have you discussed things like that?
Well, actually, a lot will depend on how the future energy markets or electricity markets will look like. So with the current model, based on the sales of energy, all these innovations would not come. They would not be necessary. But if there's a new concept for an energy market based on selling, for instance, services on the grids or selling available capacity, then you could imagine business models where all these technologies would become economically viable. But this is a question of the organization of the market, actually.
Maybe, so these huge investments and to produce, renewables today are, at least in sunny and windy countries, the levelized cost of electricity, which is the measure that you use, it's almost the same as conventional energy, but it requires huge investments, as you said. And I'm working for one of these companies that do these investments, and our problem today is that we cannot convince the banks anymore to lend to us because the business case is not there. There's no, we call our client as the off-taker. And this could be something if you use IT to have a large number of consumers which are then bankable in the sense it's like a bank trusts that the aggregator will for a time of 20-25 years be able to have demand, to guarantee you the demand. Because our problem is even if you have a big factory, usually their investment cycles are only 5 to 6 years. Ours is 25 years. So even a big company is not bankable for us. But if you aggregate lots of consumers and you can convince the banks that's a credible buyer, then on our side you could do something.
Yeah. Could also be an option to kind of talk to municipalities as well, right? They say, okay, I get a commune of 10,000 households which will, for the foreseeable future, use this technology, for instance, stuff like that. Then you have kind of a local area which also lowers the cost of installation and stuff like that. That could be also an option. But it might be hard.
I would believe that the power of having IT in that is maybe that you can go from the people have to be physically in the same place to it doesn't matter where in Europe your consumers are, but you are a strong buyer in the single European electricity market.
I'm not sure whether I got all the points, but what comes to my mind is the commons discussion, because in the peer-to-peer economy and in the discussion about commons, you have some solutions. Already Rifkin is pointing to this, and more, of course, Michel Baumanns from the Peer-to-Peer Foundation. And when you came here to this place, you did not pay for the sidewalk, you probably did pay for the subway, And so we have already a state as a super infrastructure who is implementing like autobahn and sidewalks and all this, and he gets fees, which is called taxes, and then you have already commons there in place because it's economically the best way to have no extra transaction costs, like paying for sidewalk walking, and so. And now you have, in our time for the Energy 4.0, you have the challenge to build an infrastructure which is just peerable, which is feasible or is viable to bring the current from there to there, which is very complicated in this infrastructure as it is now. And so what comes to my mind is a demand to the state who has the power and the billions to do it, to rebuild the infrastructure, to make it feasible for us to have for the citizen and cooperative energy. Let's call it generation methods, distribution methods. We cannot plug in. I cannot plug into this thing in the wall now and give my current. I have extra current. I cannot put it in there. Yeah? I could technically, but I will not get paid. But now we have the blockchain and we have all kind of cheap chips and Internet of Things. So from this point of view, all the ingredients for these infrastructures, the technological ingredients are already there. We only need to rebuild what is here now, and then we just have very low investment costs, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, at the moment we can already say that the electricity infrastructure, the grids, they exist, and they are the commons. Okay, they are owned by monopolists, but they are the commons. And I would say in the future, even generation will become the commons, because if all the generation is renewable, zero marginal cost then it's not, you will not pay for electricity anymore. You will pay for electricity being there, but not for the amount, or not directly for the amount you consume. And I think then the whole infrastructure will also incorporate the generation of the electricity. But this is in the far future. This is Rifkin 2050. But how do we organize this transition to this end state? This is the big question, because we still have the electricity markets where you pay for the electricity. You still have the owners of the grids. You still have the consumers. And so how do you organize this from now to the future? And I think this offers the opportunities for intelligent solutions.
Something like what was really interested in is the whole energy storage thing, right? With Tesla now having announced Powerwall as a kind of cheap battery solution, what would change in the market with that? If everyone had like enough power storage for their own needs, and they could even kind of lease out the storage to other people or even to companies or the network, right? Stuff like that. What happens then if everyone can, use their car as a power storage or something like that? What changes then? How do we then use energy, or do we need these large networks still?
Yeah, this is a decentralization, actually. I think Franz will talk about this later. This is also an issue, yeah. We don't need maybe the big transmission grids which cross the countries, which are crossing Europe. So maybe we don't need them anymore to that extent.
I think that the great potential is if the cost to transfer the electricity is high compared to the cost of generating it, then decentralizing the network has lots of value in it. If I always sell to people that live close to me energy, then I have the cost of giving them this electricity is much less than generating it in a faraway place and transferring it all the way and keeping all the infrastructure that is needed for such an action.
I guess I'm wondering what happens to people who can't afford to be part of the generative aspect of this. So we talk about power walls or storing energy in your car or producing solar energy. The infrastructure that exists at the moment makes it so that people who don't have the capacity for ownership or for production can access it. That's, you know, that's what it does, at least in Australia. So I'm assuming it's the same here. So I'm just wondering about the I don't know, the social divide potentially, or if there is actually a widening of a social experience of infrastructure in a situation like this, or does it actually even things out in ways that I'm just not seeing?
So I read some articles about that lately, which is kind of interesting because it's actually the other way around. New technology allows people, for instance, I think it was in Namibia, to construct a local solar cell plant where they build them locally, sell them locally, so you don't really buy it, but you rent it kind of, so it's also low cost. And they don't have to build a power grid at all because they produce their own energy, store it locally, and use it in their own facility or house or whatever. And for them it's really affordable because all the additional step-upon costs are not there. And it's local jobs as well, so that's interesting. Other stuff like technology like the gravity light that was on Indiegogo, I don't know if you've seen it, which just uses like a sack of stones to the gravity to pull a motor and dynamo to power LED for reading, right? So instead of kerosene, they can use kind of modern technology without any kind of high technology, except for the LED. It's super cool, right? So it's really basic, simply mechanics, which power a light in homes, right? And
there's kinetic football as well, which kind of actually get around the
and then kind of enabling the rest of the world to participate in that, like buy one, give one, or something like that, or enable local plants that build these as well, right? Or local factories or manufacturers. That is, I think, an interesting change there, right? So kind of enabling people to produce also energy. So there was some pretty cool articles about that.
Yeah, so Rifkin in his book, he argues that basically everything will in the future be produced by the community, peer-to-peer production, and then he has his 3D printers, and everything is also the production of the solar panels, and any product actually will be produced at zero marginal cost. So this is quite futuristic, but the trend is, at least in my sector, observable.
Yeah, only something to add, because there was criticism on Rifkin, of course, because the more complicated our technology, the less possible is it to have something in the backyard produced. And I'm following, because I'm doing Foresight for 20 years, 3D printing hype, which is in waves, and so it's better and better, but it's so far away from backyard production still, if it's about really producing what you need in your home. So I think we will have hybrid solutions like we have now. The most economical feasible solution is to have a copy center in every street and not to have a copy center in your home. And this way we will see something like this. And so this is good for corporations and not to be a solopreneur and doing all the stuff. But to just think about having local cooperatives, neighborhoods, and then you have also the advantage of community, not being so isolated in life. And so I think the next step will be some kind of local neighborhood granular stuff. And
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, and this